This is Rafiq Luzon, and you are tuned in to Nothing But That Sports Talk. All right, welcome back to another episode of Rafiq Luzon on WSJU Radio. I'm Rafiq Luzon, yours truly, and this special guest right here I have, she doesn't sit at home, especially when it comes to football season. We got the beautiful Amanda Morrison in the house. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice having you. I've seen the work you're doing covering your Jets and your Giants while handling the photography, helping out with the Associated Press, and you've been to some Super Bowls, so I figured why not let that be a story of its own, along with your brand, Don't Sit at Home, because, you're not sitting at home.
I'm definitely not, and I do not have a shortage of stories. So this is my 9th season doing Jets and Giants games, and I've been to 6 Super Bowl weeks and games and 7 Super Bowl media weeks, so it's been busy.
Yeah, it's busy. I gotta say, you're doing a phenomenal job with all the work you do. Now, why don't we talk a little bit about how Don't Sit at Home brand just started?
So I actually used to work in legal. My whole goal was I was going to be a lawyer, and I started social media as a side fun thing to be able to document my life. I love sports, and I just thought it'd be a great way to inspire people to go to different stadiums, different arenas, just see different sports. But just in general, I do lifestyle, I do sports, I do food. And I kind of it turned into a job without me trying. And 11 years ago, I quit to do it full time. And it was basically when being an influencer wasn't a thing. So a lot of people thought I was absolutely crazy for leaving my great job at such a big media company because I was working at the Associated Press. But it's been 11 years now, and I've been having so many opportunities, not just with football. I've worked with, the Mets and the Devils, and it's opened my eyes to so many different opportunities, just not in sports, around the world.
Yeah, around the world. I could only imagine. I mean, being around the world is what helps you separate yourself from everything that you do in your day job. I mean, it's good that you at least been able to get involved with NFL football in some kind of way, even though growing up it wasn't really like the intent.
I mean, honestly, it's just been to be able to be on the sidelines for so many different games. I mean, actually, the first football game I ever did was in 2017, and it was the Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl. So I had never been on the sideline for any single football game. And honestly, I'm a huge sports fan, but I never really went to as many football games. I would usually watch them actually from either home or at a bar. For that to be my first NFL experience or media experience ever, because obviously that means the Patriots come back for that Super Bowl. So I got thrown into it, and I would not imagine that, however many years later, I've been able to say I've been on the sideline for 6 Super Bowls and 9 seasons of Jets and Giants. I actually did even during the pandemic, they were very strict on what media was actually allowed for Jets and Giants. So I didn't do the fanless Jets or Giants season, but I did do the fanless Jets season. So I was one of the very few people who was actually in the stands at the game. So I've seen a lot of things in the past however many years.
Oh, yeah. So you started off when the Patriots came back and beat the Atlanta Falcons. And that was, to credit is due, that was one of the most epic comebacks the Patriots ever had.
I mean, I think that's just, in general, it was one of the best Super Bowls ever. And for me to say it was my first NFL game, because kind of went backwards. And it's like, okay, I'll do the Jets and Giants too. But that was just, it was such an incredible game. I still don't think that there's a Super Bowl that can beat that yet. So
yeah, there's nothing except my New York Giants defeating the Patriots twice. If you're a New York Giants fan, the Giants fan in you saying the Giants wins will always be better than anything Tom Brady's won later afterwards. But I got to give respect to respect is due. Tom Brady is the GOAT of the NFL.
Honestly, so when I work Jets and Giants games, I have to be team neutral. So I'm not actually even allowed to wear Giants things on the sideline of a Giants or Jets thing. But I unfortunately have not been to a Giants Super Bowl. Hopefully we'll see one soon. But I think unfortunately after yesterday's loss, it's gonna be a little bit before I'd be able to attend one.
Okay, now get into a little bit about don't sit at home. Like, what was the overall mission coming up with that brand?
Honestly, I'm that person who will do anything. Like one day you can find me at, trying a different restaurant. One day you would find me at a different game. I love all sorts of sports, even if I'm not a fan of it. I just like sports in general. I don't need to be a fan of the team to enjoy it. One of the best parts about even going to, different Super Bowls is exploring different stadiums. And unfortunately, even with the schedule this year, Jets and Giants, it's mostly Sunday games. So I don't have the ability to travel to maybe see the Giants at a different location. But I just really want to inspire people just to go out. You don't have to be a sports fan. You can just travel, or, there's genuinely something for everyone on my social media platforms, any age group. I try to be like, this was really awesome and it was free, but this was maybe expensive, but it was worth it. And I think that there's a little bit just that you don't have to have a ton of money to go out and try to like live your best lifestyle. And, it started as a side fun thing and people started gravitating towards it. So I was like, okay, maybe I can actually make this a job. And it's been, I think it was my 11-year anniversary in June. So it's been a wild ride, and some of the experiences I've had, I'm so grateful for the opportunities I've had. And I just, every day I get a nice message from someone being like, I've followed you for years, or thank you for encouraging me. Because, I'm single, but I try to be like, look, if, don't wait for people to do anything. It doesn't matter what your situation is, just, you don't want to regret all the things that you didn't do. There's just, you have one life. Life's too short to not do those things.
Yeah, life's not too short. And and that's pretty much good inspiration, like what I've been doing. I mean, obviously, for those that don't know, I'm doing a doctorate program here at St. John's University, studying multimedia communications. And prior to that, I've been committed to nothing but that sports talk with a platform. Right now, I'm here at WSJU Radio interviewing somebody that's literally found her own way of being involved with NFL football.
I mean, honestly, I always grew up that I've always hustled really hard. Even I played softball in college, so I grew up an athlete. I played basketball. I played varsity basketball, field hockey, and softball in high school. I was the captain of my softball team in college, and I've always just worked really hard. And I say yes to everything because you never know. Like some of my best friends now I've met on the sidelines of these games or when I'm traveling. Even when I always say it's like kind of like going back to school, the preseason, you get to see everyone. And it's also being nice to everyone too. I'm friends with people from security to I've met players and coaches and meet different media professionals. And it's just, I've always worked really hard and it's paid off because sometimes even from someone they say, oh, I met you 5 years ago and maybe their professional life has changed and then they have another opportunity for you. So I don't think that, I think that a lot of people know how hard I work, and I just try to, inspire people others to do the same.
Yeah, you have to inspire people because the whole purpose of being able to get involved in what you do with stuff like the Associate Press and even working in criminal justice background that you mentioned, it's actually being able to find discover your own identity when you're around people and what you're involved in lead towards the identity that you probably never envisioned, envisioned but never envisioned.
Well, never. Even the fact that social media platforms has changed too. So when I quit my job 11 years ago, TikTok wasn't a thing. I think my biggest following was on my Facebook page, and an influencer was in things. So even trying to explain to my department, my boss, the CEO of a company, oh, I'm quitting this great job at one of the biggest media companies in the world to be I don't even think I even counted as being an influencer because it wasn't a thing. I said I just want to try to inspire people using my social media platforms to try to even give promotion to small businesses. It's not just sports in general, and that's what I love about the brand that I built is that anything can fall under Don't Sit Home. Whether it's you're at a game, you're trying a new restaurant, you're going out for a hike. Even during the pandemic, I think that we all learned the lesson of how valuable even anything online, whether we were getting our information from social media. We weren't even having in person. We were doing Zoom calls. We were doing Zoom interviews. I think that also really, it's amazing how it took, even just for such a event like that, for people to realize the effect of social media.
Yeah, exactly. The effect of social media is really what was sorted out for people like me during the whole pandemic that we've had back in the early portion of this decade. I got so accustomed to doing the virtual interviews that getting back to doing in-person interviews kind of like a readjustment to getting comfortable doing in-person interviews, not just for myself, but the people I'm around.
Yeah, no, honestly, it just changed so much. It was really hard because even for me, obviously a lot of people had a hard time during the pandemic for so many different reasons, but I can kind of claim that I had the worst business name during the pandemic because unfortunately, with the moment's notice, the entire world was told to sit home and I had to pivot too. So we've been trying to throw back to different experiences. But then also one thing is that I was able to show the behind the scenes of working a Jets game because other people weren't even allowed to be there. So I know that there's one photographer that I help out because I used to work for Associated Press. Now I help out their photographers on the sideline. And one photographer, Frank Franklin, actually took a picture of me from across the stadium, and it's so eerie to see. Like, I'm in my media vest, I'm in my mask, and you see, they see New York Jets and just no one around me because they wouldn't actually even allow media onto the field. I think maybe the team photographer was allowed there, but every photographer that was actually allowed to be at a Jets game had to stay in the stands. So I was genuinely running around the entire stadium. I think I was putting in like 34,000 steps a game, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, I could only imagine. I mean, like you mentioned, you got to cover sports in a COVID pandemic where no fans were allowed. And the no fans allowed created the whole dynamic of, yeah, this is technically weird and strange. I mean, the live football game with no fans. Who would have imagined that happening?
I mean, honestly, it was so weird because I was actually credentialed for the 2020 Super Bowl, and we didn't know what was going to be happening a month later. And then I think after I did the fanless Jets season. I didn't do the 2021 Super Bowl, but then when it was the 2022 Super Bowl, I think it was LA, and it was really the first time I was actually at a football game where there was people around me. Because I know certain stadiums had fans, but MetLife didn't allow it.
Yeah, of course, Matt. Yeah, of course, Matt didn't allow it. I mean, New York is probably like one of the biggest impact that the major impact the pandemic had. I mean, geez, the fact that we were one of the few stadiums to go through a live NFL football regular season game with no fans, that's just so weird.
It was
And covering that where the Jets only won two games, the Giants were literally a Eagles loss, well, a Washington Commanders loss away from getting to the playoffs at that time with a losing record in a division that was completely bad in 2020, or as they call it, the NFC least.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was such a weird,
Yeah.
it was just, it's something, I'm happy, or not, that's the wrong word to say. It was interesting to experience when they asked me if I would feel comfortable doing it. I'm very happy I said yes to it because I hope we never do it again. I mean, it was a once and hopefully, we'll never experience something like that, but it shows, I don't know, how lucky we are that we can just, any Sunday go to a game and be able to be surrounded by people. It's just definitely something I hope we never see again. I actually was supposed to be credentialed for March Madness and it was when they were originally saying there was going to be no fans for March Madness, I was still counted as an essential worker, but obviously we know everything all of a sudden shut down, and I was unfortunately not able to do that.
That sucks. I mean, well, obviously, well, look at the bright side. March Madness came back in 2021, and it came back, it was so different. I mean, it wasn't your typical March Madness since everything was done in one state.
Yeah.
Eight. And then and that was before they went back to doing it in all 9 states like they normally did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It was actually going to
yeah.
be the first time I was ever credentialed for basketball, and then unfortunately got canceled. So I've still have never been credentialed again. But I'm always trying to set different goals too. So I hope like one day I will be credentialed for it.
Well, if you keep working hard, you can get credentialed. I mean, what my suggestion is get credentialed for get credentialed for college basketball. Because trust me, college basketball could help you in so many different ways. I promise you.
Now, the one thing I was even actually walking around the campus before we had this interview, I was like, I went to a Division III school in Madison, New Jersey, and it's just I don't have a big group or I don't have like a big college to go to football games and stuff on the weekend, but I definitely would rather try to do more in like college sports than actually for professional. Even though I mean I love a good professional game and I'm so lucky with NFL, but I definitely would be interested in doing more college basketball or football even.
Yeah, college basketball is coming up. I mean, yeah, and obviously you're in literally St. John's University, which is home to the 2025 the men's Big East champions. So, yeah. With that being said, what are your overall thoughts on St. John's?
I mean, honestly, the fact that like I think I pay attention more to professional basketball, but I do like college basketball. But even just walking around here, this was my first time here, so that's why when you asked me to come for the interview, I jumped at the chance and I got here a little bit early just to explore the campus. So I said I went to a small Division III school. Not that I have. I mean, I've been to bigger universities, but even just the campus in general, this is beautiful here.
Yeah, you gotta admit, it's a pretty good campus. And you're at WSJU Radio. I'm Rafiq, who's alongside Amanda Morrison for Don't Sit at Home, and she's definitely not sitting at home right now after exploring St. John's. It's the same feeling that I've had. I mean, so many hills. I mean, I was just so amazed by the campus. I just had to take pictures of it because you walk in a different environment located in Jamaica, Queens, New York.
Oh, it's beautiful, and
You
it was
can't get past that.
no, and it was pretty easy. I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I took a bus and a train, and I got to, it was so worth the trip out here. So I really appreciate you inviting me here.
Yeah, yeah, definitely with a trip. Now, why don't you talk about some notable highlights that you covered or got involved with ever since you started Don't Stay at Home?
Oh, I mean, honestly, sometimes when people even just ask me and they kind of like wide-eyed, like, you must have some stories. And I do. I mean, the fact that even just like Super Bowl weeks in general, media weeks are so fun because a lot of people, they're like, oh, you get to see all the teams. And actually, I mean, you don't get to see a lot of different players, but you get to see them off the field too. So I had a very viral video on my Don't Sit Home social media platforms because I met Travis Kelce out in, I think it was Super Bowl week of my first Super Bowl, it was 2017, and he was just at a club by himself. He could not have been nicer. And there's so many different people that I've met in, whether it's, even Isaac Rochelle used to play for, I think he played for the Chargers, the Colts, the Browns, and now he's retired and I think he's working for the NFL Network right now. But we met at a media event at the Minnesota Super Bowl and we were snowmobiling. So I was actually credentialed for a Ravens-Browns game a few years ago and he was on the Browns at the time and I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, I don't know if you remember me, but we went snowmobiling in Minnesota. He's like, oh my God, I do remember you. And I got to see him at the game. And then actually when I was in New Orleans credentialed for Media Week, I was able to even meet his wife, and it was kind of funny because I was like, he's like, oh, have you ever met my wife? And I was like, oh no, it's really nice to meet you. We met because we went, who can say you just went snowmobiling with some of the Chargers at the time. It's some of those memories that I will, if I'd never even quit my job to do this, I would probably never be able to say. But just in general too, that there's so many people. I mean, at the end of the day, athletes, coaches, like we're all just people, and it's been so nice to get to know some people professionally and personally. So there's so many. I mean, just behind closed doors too. It's just I've been so lucky to meet so many different people, whether it's even people who I mean, I see different, there's celebrities of different athletes or media professionals that are on the sidelines for Jets and Giants games all the time, let alone Super Bowl. I mean, Radio Row, you see everyone there. So it's been just such a, I mean, I kind of am overwhelmed. I've even one of my goals actually towards leading up to the Super Bowl is to actually kind of like backtrack because if someone went through my camera roll, I think they would be absolutely shocked. But I just have so much content that I haven't even shared with the world. So for the past, I mean, I've to backtrack for 9 years. Sometimes I don't even remember some of it. But then I also remember like when Tom Brady retired, I found this video of him and Bill Belichick walking through, and I forget what Super Bowl was. It might have been Miami, but they had the NFL 100 walking through the hallways, and I had videos of everyone, and it was just me standing there. But those are videos that people would dream about having on their phone, and I haven't even put a lot of them out on the internet yet. So I that's one project I want to try to do is go back and even try to, because like I get so overwhelmed that I feel like everyone wants everything at one time, and I need to go back and remember that people would be just interested seeing Brady and Belichick walking through back, not just in front of the camera. I mean, technically in front of my camera, but not just on the field for just like a photo op.
Yeah, that's crazy. You're capturing fan moments that are happening in these games. Yeah. I mean, why not? You have these access to get these moments where not just your brand, but also helping out something that you gave your hard work and dedication to. Only this time on the photography side.
Well, even the fact that like I've been helping out Associated Press with their photographers, and I loved Associated Press like that. I think when I left my job, I was working in an intellectual property and legal department. When I left my job, I was really sad because I did love everyone there. I loved my job, I loved the company, but then I like also the fact that now I could kind of help them out in a different way. But even just when I'm on the sidelines with the photographers, sometimes you're trying to find a certain player. Even I worked the game where Taylor Swift was at MetLife when the Chiefs played the Jets, and I was also, my eyes were on the field, so I'm looking to see which suite that she was going to be coming in. You kind of don't think about that, or sometimes maybe if a player is hurt or you don't know if someone's obviously there's changes all the time, and even there was a new photographer that had never done football games before too, and also the fact that I'm a big sports fan, I know a lot about sports, but do I know every single player or a person? Even sometimes at Super Bowl weeks, a lot of times you know their names, you know how they play. play. Like I could, I could talk about their stats, but sometimes you don't remember what everyone looks like because they're playing in a helmet. So even with one of the photographers, I was saying, because we were looking for them, because not every, some of the best players don't even put their uniforms on for preseason games. So even trying to like navigate being like, oh, I spot him, or, he has the hood up. So like, trying to be out of the public eye. And I also like help out, like point where people are. So which
Yeah.
is sometimes like, I think it's like a little bit overrated, but people don't think about that. But you think about how many players are out in the field in general, let alone like you have the media, you have the coaches. There's a lot going on for football games. So
Covering the Super Bowl is a big achievement for anybody
yeah.
that's trying to like work their way towards elevating themselves and find their identity in sports.
Honestly, it's just I've done so this past Super Bowl. I was credentialed for Media Week through Don't Sit Home, but then my other Super Bowls and the games that I've worked, I was helping out Associated Press. And I'll just say there is no greater feeling that when you have like the confetti. I unfortunately my Giants haven't been in a Super Bowl since I've been able to attend them, but being able to look up and just having the confetti falling down, you feel like a kid all over again. And even not that I ever thought I would get used to it. It's still like a pinch me moment. I'm hoping that one day I'll get back to the field because this past year I wasn't credentialed, but I still think that like it's like my Christmas. It is really like I get so excited for Media Week, and I'm usually wherever the Super Bowl is, I'm usually there from the week before, so about like 8 or 9 days. So it's a long day, but even just leading up till that one day, it's still like I never thought I would. I'm very grateful for all the opportunities. I work really hard for them, and I think that just even your reputation. If I was doing something wrong. I don't think they wouldn't let you back. The NFL is also very strict. So, I've tried to always been kind to everyone. I work really hard. I stay professional, but I still definitely it's never gotten old. Like every single time in there, it's just probably one of the greatest feelings I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be kind of respectful to everybody. And I'm kind of struggling with the campus media affiliates in general. Like, I'm just recently experienced being let go of campus media affiliates due to, but I'm not, I am being kind, but I kind of showed a little bit of eagerness to get to work because, like, I want to eventually get to work. I want to cover this, I want to cover that. Yeah, I like to see other people shine, but I'm there for my career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why even I was very disappointed that it's just also the opportunity change. It wasn't anything personal that I wasn't credentialed for this past Super Bowl. But then I was like, you know what? All right, I'm just gonna work. I'm gonna do everything possible to figure out how I could be there. I even every time I've helped them out with Super Bowls, I've always paid my own way. I've worked really hard. I've organized everything for myself, and even at like some of the opportunities that I've had, there's a lot more than just the Super Bowl game. There's a lot of different like networking events, or I wanted to make sure I did everything possible that I was there. And even, my mom joked, she's like, not bad for a girl without a plan, because I had a packed week. I got myself credentialed. And even the fact that I never knew if Don't Sit Home was really going to work out its job, I knew I was going to try. But you know what? Also, not everything works out the way that you want it to. And being able to see Don't Sit Home on a Super Bowl Media Week credential was one of the proudest moments I've ever had, personally and professionally. Because there's a lot of people at the beginning who said, like, you're crazy. I can't believe you're doing this. You're leaving like such a great job. And, it was a leap of faith. And at the time I was single, I lived alone. I didn't have any children. If I made if it was a mistake, the only person that was going to have to, pay for it is me. And I also knew that I was working really hard during anything. And I had a great resume, and something else would work out. And just being able to see Don't Sit Home on an NFL official credential was one of the coolest things I've ever done.
And I gotta give you flowers for that because you really done a great job.
Thank you.
Now, with that being said, I know you probably just touched up on it a little bit, but just to expand on it, and you mentioned you've involved with covering the Super Bowl or have involvement with this since 2017 while helping out with the photographers at the AP. What are some of your favorite moments in the Super Bowl, favorite Super Bowls that you worked in recent years?
It's hard because they set the bar really high with my first one. And even so, that was my first Super Bowl week, and I didn't even know what to expect. Like, I remember even getting my first Super Bowl was in Houston, and I didn't even know that I had to get a media vest. I've watched a million games, but it was just something that didn't even occur to me. So I had to, they're like, oh, you have to go all the way back to the front, get your vest. But just that game in general, but even just like the different weeks, like learning about Radio Row. I really didn't know about that. And even sometimes I talk about Media Weeks to people, and then I'll say, like, I just in passing, I'll say Radio Row. And then people are like, wait, what is that? Or people actually, I'm starting to kind of normalize everything for that week. And then I realized like how much I've learned over the years. So even this year for Super Bowl, I'll be trying to get myself credentialed for Media Week again. And I really do want to work with like, I'm gonna see if there's different brands and stuff that would like me because I, or like to work with me because I do know my way around. I know, I know like like I like to get there on the Sunday, you get settled, you can, get your credential, and then Monday's opening night, and then it's off to the races. And I know what days it's busier on Radio Row or having to navigate around it. But even just, I mean, that Super Bowl in general was just, I mean, as we said, it was one of the best Super Bowls ever. And also, it was kind of personal too, because so my dad works in recreation in Morris Township in New Jersey. And his brother, or his boss's brother, is actually Dan Quinn, who is now the coach of the Commanders, but at the time he was the coach of the Falcons. So I remember I was at my first press conference ever for a football team, and obviously you're not supposed to burst out with anything too, but he was walking by me, and I was like, "My dad works for your brother," and he whipped around. I was like, "My dad's a recreation director," and he's like, "Oh my God!" So he was so incredibly kind to me, and it was just such a special moment of having a personal connection with the coach of I mean, unfortunately, it didn't work out for the for the Falcons for that Super Bowl, but it was like one of the coolest moments for me personally. And since then, I've seen him on the field for both Jets and Giants games too at MetLife. And what was really special actually this year is that when the Commanders played the Giants, actually when he was at MetLife for preseason, I saw him and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if you remember me, but my dad works for your brother." And so when I got my parents' tickets for the Giants Commanders, and I saw Dan or Coach Quinn, and I said, "Oh, is your brother here?" Thinking if my dad's boss is going to be there, and he's like, "Oh no." I was like, "Oh, it's okay. I just I got my parents here. They're on the sideline." He's like, "Wait, where are your parents?" And he like walked me through the Commanders bench, which press. I mean, certain press are allowed in the benches, but I'm not there. And he walked me through the Commanders bench and went over to my parents, and even he didn't even say like, "I'm Coach Quinn," or he just said, "Hi, I'm Tim's brother," and Tim is my dad's boss. And like even being able to share that moment with my parents was just so special. I have this video of Coach Quinn going up to my parents, going to shake their hands, and my dad's unfortunately going through some health things, and he's been having a kind of a brutal cancer battle, and just being able to do that little moment, even just the fact that like security was so nice to my parents, and even my mom was saying, she's like, "I feel like this is a real like test to your character," because even I had to go do something to help out a photographer, and I was like, "Oh, where's my parents?" Because I didn't really like they're already like moving people off of the field because the game was about to start, and I didn't forget my parents, but I got busy, and I called my mom in a panic. I was like, "Are you and Dad okay?" She's like, "Oh no, people came and got us. They took us right to our seats." She's like, "Everyone here is so nice," and I was just that like those are the moments that I wouldn't give back in like forever. They're so special to me.
Wow.
Even I got to bring one of my close friends too. I actually was able to invite someone else to work that Falcons Patriots Super Bowl, and my friend Brandy had a heart transplant. Actually, I think she's only like a year older than me, and unfortunately, she had a health complication. And being able to stand on the field with one of my friends who I thought I was going to lose for that Super Bowl too, it's been there's so many things. I'm a very sentimental person. I'm very grateful for a lot of the things that I've been able to. But also, I mean, it's cool. I'm on the sidelines. I mean, for games every week, which I like, even for Giants and Jets games, like, unfortunately, it's not, it hasn't been the best season for both New York teams, but it's still like, I don't take for granted any games. I know it could also be easily taken away from me tomorrow because they might because even after the pandemic, they actually did cut down a lot of the credentials. So there are a lot less media professionals out in the field than there used to be.
Yeah, definitely a lot less. And it was sad because, and getting back to your family situation, after all those connections you made, the networking is real, especially amongst family. It's just so real.
I mean, even just the fact that my parents had never been on the sideline of a football game before. And obviously it's just, I don't take, I was saying I don't take for granted, but, I get to do it every week. And so for the fact that being able to, do something special for the two most important people for me in my life, and being able to see their face. I mean, there's the video is actually funny. There's a guy who's standing right next to my parents, and I joke, I was like, there's no, like, the other happiest person in that video is the man standing next to my parents, having the coach of the Commanders come up to, like, right by their side. But just being able to see it. And I've also, like, it was just, one of the best moments I think I've ever had,
It's a
honestly.
tearful moment. I mean, it's something that you literally earned after having so much involvement.
Well, even just being able to see, I mean, the Coach Quinn he has a great reputation. You hear about the way professionals talk about him, about players talk about him too, and just being able to have like a firsthand experience of seeing what a quality person he is. Because even, I see how also a lot of players and coaches, act around the benches, or some don't leave the bench, or some people don't really interact with other people too. And even the reason why I was able to say something about like, oh, I don't know if you remember me, because he was just walking around, talking to security right behind the bench. There's no, there's some people, it's nice to see that a lot of people are exactly what you would hope they are or what you hear about them. So I don't think, I don't have, I'm very grateful I don't have too many stories of people not being what you would hope they would be. So.
Man, so many stories. I mean, this is what something that people don't realize is that when you cover sports, it's more to just somebody standing up taking pictures or working with somebody that's standing up taking pictures. It's the interactions you get with people within your circle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even there was a new photographer. I said, like, I mean, obviously the media changes, but also there's a lot of media that stay the same now. So it's so nice. So there's even media professionals on the field. We don't know each other's names, but it's that common, we see each other every week. So it's, oh, hi, how are you? It's just, you see each other all the time. And there was a new photographer and we were talking. And even I know Saquon Barkley, I was media for the Giants, but also when I was at one of his fundraisers. And the one of the photographers says, "Oh, Amanda knows," because it was the Jets Eagles game when it came up, and so the photographer was walking with me. He's like, "Oh, would like he recognize you?" I said, "Oh, I mean, I think you'd be." I'm not close friends with him, but I was like, "Yes, you would." But even after their Jets Eagles game, he saw me, gave me a hug, said, "How are you doing?" I've seen different players, even like I know Justin Pugh too, and he's on the sidelines a lot. He's doing like a YouTube channel that's Thursday Sports Club. So he's been at MetLife for a few times, obviously in general for Giants games, but he's been traveling around the country. But every time I see him on the sideline too, he's like the first one I'll give you a biggest hug, and he's always just so nice to everyone around him. So I mean, even the fact that I've met so many different players in media over the years, it's such a cool part of what I've been doing.
Yeah, such a cool part. And I gotta say, congratulations on being able to elevate yourself around the people that's in the sports community
Thank
while
you.
covering the NFL and covering the Super Bowls. Literally, congratulations to you.
No, it's been a cool experience. I mean, just the fact that like I really do want to, like we are saying, what's your favorite moments? I think I just have too many, but I'm also that person who nothing's lost to me. I always know how lucky I am to be in certain rooms. I think the only I've helped out with 6 Super Bowls. I've been credentialed, and I was only not on the field for one of them. But then I remember one Super Bowl when it was like iffy if I was going to be able on the field, and this was after the Miami Super Bowl. And I was like, oh, it's like if I'm not credentialed for the field, I'm still okay with going. I'm in the door. I don't, I will work anywhere you need me to help you out. I'm working a Super Bowl, but I was laughing because everyone's like, but where did you get to watch the first game? And I think my assignment for the first half of the Miami Super Bowl was to watch it from a suite, like with Emmett Smith, and then the second half I was in the stands, like right near Jay-Z and Beyonce. Like it wasn't, they still are not bad places to watch the Super Bowl, but that's why some people I think would, I will work as hard anywhere that someone needs me, and it's just I don't take anything for granted.
You can't. You just can't. Just like you don't take it granted not just being able to witness the game itself, but the Super Bowl halftime performances that happened in recent years.
Oh,
Which halftime performance do you enjoy the most, or top two performance you enjoy the most, if you were to look back at it?
it's actually. Oh, I mean, hands down LA. That was my favorite Super Bowl performance. Even I had a very viral video from the halftime because I didn't realize I couldn't. It was the thing is when you're watching a halftime performance on TV, it's very different in person. And obviously, I'm very lucky to
Wow.
experience that, but sometimes you're not able to see all the different angles. I remember I think I think it was Minnesota with Lady Gaga, and everyone's texting me, "Oh, did she really jump?" And I'm like, "You don't even know where to look because obviously the cameras for the TV performance, they know where they're pointing the camera. When you're in person, you're looking around. You have no idea where it's going to start. And I think it was hard. I mean, it was so hard because there was so much going on for the LA Super Bowl. I was, I did my job. I was helping people out. And then before the game and towards the end, I didn't have an assignment. So I moved so I could see it better. And then all of a sudden I looked and I'm watching it right in front of Justin Bieber. And he was standing because that field, you actually, so like obviously with MetLife Stadium, every stadium's different, but they don't have lower suites. LA had that, so he was standing on top of like the kind of a little wall on top of it, and he was singing to Eminem. I posted that video, and I think on YouTube right now it still has like 14 million views. But I think LA was probably my favorite Super Bowl, but it's also like seeing the behind the scenes. So they had all the cars in the tunnel before going out to the field. So even the seeing like the way that they break down stages and they do it so quickly. Like there are so many different moving parts, and they're also practicing for, they're doing rehearsals and everything because it has to be a well-oiled machine because they don't have time to make a mistake. That stage needs to go together quickly. They have their performance, you need to clear the field and then be able to have it ready to play again. So I think that just being able to see the behind the scenes, or even actually the press conferences are my favorite press conference to go to during Super Bowl week. Some of the press conferences has nothing to do with what I'm helping out with, and I just don't really have an interest, but the halftime show is one of the coolest things to do. And it's been interesting to see the way they've changed the format too, because sometimes they would have people at a podium taking questions. Sometimes they would just have it as like a panel discussion with no questions from the audience. I think that actually I had a viral video because obviously when Rihanna announced that she was pregnant at the Super Bowl, you can very clearly see she was pregnant from my video, but no one really talked about it at the press conference. Like it was the big reveal at the game, but no one really talked about it. But I don't even think, I'm trying to remember, I don't think she took questions from the audience. But then I remember, Lady Gaga was like throwing a football into, or like to different reporters and stuff too. So I think actually she was throwing, I think she threw a football to Terry Bradshaw in the press conference, which is such a weird moment that I would never think would be coming out of my mouth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it's good to know that there's Super Bowls that are really amazing from the halftime performance standpoint, outside just Kendrick Lamar performing, and you see Serena Williams dancing in the middle of Kendrick Lamar's performance. That was something that you didn't expect.
Well, I wasn't.
I know you weren't.
I wasn't there.
I know you wasn't there, but obviously you've seen it on TV or somewhere within your couch.
Yeah.
You were sitting at home for that one. But yeah, that was a good Super Bowl. And Dre and Snoop Dogg, they killed that with Super Bowl.
Honestly, I mean, there was one security. I forget what Super Bowl it was. Maybe it was in Las Vegas. And I just started talking to with one of the security guards, and he said, "Oh, how many Super Bowls have you done?" And we just started talking about like halftime performances too, because I think he had done like 7 or like 10 Super Bowls. Because sometimes like different arenas have their own security, but then there's also NFL security. Different teams have their security. Even at MetLife, there's so many different levels of security there. But even just I think that for halftime performances, I saw Justin Timberlake, Lady Gaga, J-Lo and Shakira, LA, and then I don't even remember who. I mean, I think it's a good problem to have that I have so many now that I sometimes I even kind of forget how many I've seen. Oh, but I didn't get to go to the Super Bowl, but I did go to Kendrick Lamar's press conference, which was actually super interesting because then you hear about how they kind of like dodge certain topics because a lot of people do ask like, oh, are you going to have a guest performance? Any surprises? And it's interesting to see what they hint to and then what actually comes into reality. So I actually thought someone was going to join Rihanna, and no one didn't. And obviously, she's wonderful. I mean, the fact that I could be that close to Rihanna in general, that was also a pinch me moment. But it is interesting to see. I was surprised to see Serena out there, but he didn't hit. There was nothing at a press conference that would have made you think that was going to happen.
Nothing,
Yeah.
Definitely nothing indeed, because this is something that you lived for.
Yeah.
The hard work can lead to you getting up close and personal. I mean, yeah, you're doing the work, but you're getting up close and personal with some of the biggest names in sports entertainment in one of the major events that goes on a yearly basis.
Yeah. I mean, even how can you forget Usher? But I just remember
Usher was a talented performer.
And I was helping out a certain photographer. So there's sometimes, even the way I've helped out Associated Press photographers has shifted. So I used to be a photo runner, and you would actually run a memory card into an editing room so they could run the photo or they could upload the photos. Now they're doing wirelessly, so I help out in different ways. But I remember there was a certain point at the halftime show where I needed to physically take a media card or like a memory card into the photo room. So I was standing, but it wasn't a bad place to have to wait. I was standing directly in the middle of the stage, right in front of Usher. And then I had to go take this photo with this card and sprint into the room, go give it to the editor, and then come back. But I just remember just looking up, being like, I am so lucky. This is a once in a lifetime experience for anyone. And the fact that I've been able to have it multiple times, I still sometimes can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Super Bowl coverages that you get this season coming up. Even if it's still more of the same. I mean, obviously, through all those experiences, you got to witness the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty where they won 3 within a span of like 5. Aside from the loss last year against the Eagles and the loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2020. Aside from that, Kansas City Chiefs built a dynasty during that time.
It is funny because if you look at my social media and this picture of Travis Kelce and I think the timestamp is at like 3:56 in the morning and at this club in Houston. But seeing him from, in the video that I posted, I said from meeting him at a club at 4:00 in the morning, couldn't have been nicer. We took a quick photo and then I went and had a drink and it was like a 2-second interaction. But then being able to then see, like I have that video where it shows the 2 pictures from when I met him. So I said to then being on the field watching him win a Super Bowl is like, that's something I never thought in a million years, seeing Travis at 4:00 in the morning in a plaid shirt in this club, that I would be seeing him on a podium raising up a Super Bowl trophy. It was I've just seen so many different things, and even just the fact that with different players retiring or just on Radio Row in general. I mean, usually Radio Row opens on about like the Monday before, like a week before the Super Bowl, but it doesn't start really getting busy until probably like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is usually the busiest time for Radio Row. And you see, old players, new players. You see, I remember since this year was the first time I was credentialed for Don't Sit Home, I kind of didn't do too much. Like I would take content, I take videos and stuff, but I never wanted to give anyone a false impression. It was going to be, content for Associated Press. I was just credentialed there helping them. But when I actually had Don't Sit Home on my own credential, I walked up to Drew Brees and I did like a little walk and talk with him. And I've also met some certain players, like I know Charles Tillman. So I was able to do a little bit, quick little video with him. I saw Justin Pugh out there. So I think we were talking about like our favorite Italian restaurants in Hoboken. And it's really, it pushed me out of my comfort zone too, because I could go up to, and you know what the worst thing is, that someone could just say no. Said, hi, would you have a few minutes just to talk with me? And this year I want to do that more. I want to do that more than ever. I pushed myself out of my own comfort zone because I really could do that with my own credential. And this year I really want to, create more content. The thing that was hard though is that when I got my credential through Don't Sit Home, when you did it, they made it. So I'm used to having a credential for the entire week. When I did it through myself and so last minute, I had to do specific day passes, and they don't even give you the official approval until 24 hours before each day. But if you want to even try to schedule an interview, you don't even know if you're going to be allowed in that room. So, and I also was there by myself because I didn't want to even spend the money to have someone come and help me create content if I wasn't going to be able to make any content.
I can only imagine. I mean, I've had people that ran into that same situation where even with the approval process, they run into certain situations where you're not going to get the interviews you strive for.
It's so hard because it's also so expensive. And even when I was helping out Associated Press for Super Bowls, I was still paying my own way. I was still paying for, I would find my own hotel. I would pay for my flights. And it's not a cheap week. I mean, New Orleans was definitely the most expensive Super Bowl week I've ever seen. I mean, I was there from the Sunday. I found something that was reasonable, but I think Spotify or someone actually, was like renting out the hotel for the weekend. And as you get closer to the actual game weekend, that's when things get more expensive. And so it's just, it's hard because you're spending all that money and then you don't even know if you're going to get approval. And then if I were to hire someone to help me create content, because even for me, I'm the one taking like a selfie video with someone walking to their actual official interview, but then I'm trying to go edit. But then I also don't want to miss out on opportunities because I'm like, I always can edit content later. This might be my once in a lifetime chance to get this picture with this person. Or it's not, he's not a football player, but even I just remember I wasn't going to go to Radio Row in Vegas. Like, you go in and out, but you just also, it's hard because it's kind of like you have a little bit of FOMO because someone might only be there at 8:00 in the morning. Someone might be there the whole day. Someone might just pop in and you never know what celebrities, because it's also not just football players. I remember I saw Simone Biles. I would think it was in the the Houston one. I saw, but like even Vegas, I have a picture with Wayne Newton. Everyone's like, that is the most Vegas thing you could have done, and that's so cool. Even like I know Gary Vaynerchuk. It's actually my past life. I used to do trademark work at a law firm, and when before Gary became as big as he is with VaynerMedia, I used to write his letters and do part. Was a paralegal doing his trademark work, and I remember I first saw him on the field of a Jets game, and I was like, you don't know me, but I used to work for Lerner David in Westfield, New Jersey. And he kind of like looked at me like, oh my goodness. He's like, please, send me this picture reminding me who you are. And I've seen him at a few Jets games. And now I've also seen him on Radio Row, or even my friend Brandon London. He used to play for the Giants, but he actually works for the New York Post. And he at Super Bowl, the Super Bowl in Vegas.
Oh, you're talking about
Brandon London? Yeah.
Brandon London, the former safety of the Giants, who was part of Super Bowl champion?
Oh, he's an MC for all the Giants games. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a major.
Oh,
he's New York Giants right there. You got Eli Manning, you got David Tyree, the helmet catch. Yeah, you got Brandon Jacobs, but Brandon London, that man's amazing.
He's also the MC for all the Giants games. So if you go, you see him on the big screen too. He's a good friend of mine. And when he was at the Vegas Super Bowl, he was a credential to do the red carpet for the Fanatics party. And so I went and helped him with content too. And Gary Vaynerchuk was walking the red carpet, and he looked at me. I was like, "See, I told you, never know where I'll pop up." But yeah, Brandon is great. So it's really nice too, because I've met him through even like Madeline Burke. She's she works with the Giants too, and just the media professionals I've met on the field too. And it's so nice because it's expanded on and off the field. Like Brandon's a very good friend of mine, and he hustles so hard. Like even it's been nice because the last two Super Bowl weeks too. It's even like if I'm with him and he sees a person who's like, hey, can you take my phone to can you do this video? It's nice that people are just everyone's helping each other too, whether it doesn't matter how big or little you are too. It's really nice to see like so many supportive people, no matter what level they are.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, I met Brandon Lung at the Big East tournament a couple of years ago. I told him I interviewed Dexter Henry that he works with. He was like, how did Dexter get an interview and not me?
It's been such a wild ride that I mean, the fact that it's been 9 years, I never thought I'd be on the sideline for any football games, let alone I've had 9 seasons of it. So even it was, I usually do all the home Jets and Giants games at MetLife, but like a very cool opportunity is that I knew a photographer who was doing all of the Baltimore Ravens games, and he invited me to come down and help with, as I mentioned, that orange or the Browns Ravens game. And it was just even cool to see, because it's so interesting how different teams run things differently. I mean, even the Jets and Giants, they're in the same stadium, but they also have their own procedures. So every game, I have a hard credential for both teams individually, but everyone has to get a media vest and an armband. But even the Giants give them both to you together. Or no, I'm sorry, the Jets give them both to you together, but the Jets give them both to you together. The Giants make you go to 2 separate locations. You pick up your vest in the photo workroom, and then you have to go to a tunnel and get your armband from someone else. So it's so interesting to see how, even though they're all NFL teams, and you would think that they'd be all doing, certain procedures are the same throughout the teams, but then there's also like little ways you wouldn't, that it's just interesting to see that they're so different.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, there's so many differentials within football.
Yeah.
So much.
It's, and even just seeing the differences from like the pandemic too. So that's when the start of the armband happened. So if you watch every week that every person has an armband that says like what was this week? It was week 7 yesterday. But that didn't used to be a thing. So even when I did the fanless season, I think I was the only person who didn't have an armband, and they were still trying to navigate how they do that. But it's, I mean, there's been different changes, but as I also mentioned too, is that there used to be so many more like photographers and media professionals in the photo workroom, and certain games are busier than others. I was on the field for the Giants-Eagles game for Thursday Night Football. Obviously, that's gonna bring all eyes were on that game. So obviously, there's gonna be a lot more people. Not as not quite the same as the Jets game yesterday. So it's interesting to see even just the different levels, or having a Thursday Night Football, having like the way that they have a stage. Like, I mean, even when we were talking about the halftime shows where they have to set up a stage and then collapse it, they also have to do that for like Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and for stadiums that it's not every week. It's interesting to see how they change that depending on where they are. because obviously this year at MetLife there's only 2 night games. It was the Chiefs Sunday night football and then the Eagles for Thursday night football.
Yeah, that was a good win for the New York Giants too.
Oh, that game was it was fun. You know,
It was definitely fun.
It's it's hard because I'm grateful. I mean even the fact that I'm a Giants fan, but I still I love sports in general. I don't root against a certain team. I love it doesn't matter if my team is not playing. I just love a good game personally and professionally. But it was nice. I'm a Giants fan, but it was just nice to be there because it's been a rough few seasons for the Giants and the Jets. Sometimes the Jets game yesterday honestly was not pretty. I'm not a Jets fan, so it didn't technically impact me, but it wasn't even fun to watch. And that Thursday night football game, fans, even with Jackson Dart and the Cam Scatterboot, it was just so fun. It just brought a different energy that I think's been missing at MetLife for a while now.
Yeah, different energy. The Giants were bringing that energy this past Sunday against the Denver Broncos. They had a 19-point lead with 7.7 minutes left. 26 to 8 with 5 minutes and change left, and you let the Broncos outscore you 33-13 in the fourth quarter. You missed 2 extra points, a 2-point conversion. Will Lewis hit the go-ahead field goal, and it only took him 37 minutes to get down the field.
It was,
How you let Bo Nix get down the field, New York Giants? I know we're not expecting to go anywhere. We're not expecting to be anything. Hey, might as well tank for the NFL draft, because at least we can, might as well tank for the NFL draft again. And Jackson Dirt doesn't work out because he has some potential. He showed you he can do some things. Even with Malik Neighbors out for the season with that injury in the win against the Los Angeles Chargers, he showed you he can do some things, but it's like, what are the Giants thinking?
Well, honestly, I'm a little...
interception, and those 2 missed PATs opened the door for Denver to come back. Bo Nix has a bright future. Let's give the credit to Bo Nix. He has a bright future in the NFL. Yeah. He might even give Patrick Mahomes a run for his money and win the AFC West. And that's only possible when you come back and beat a team that has only had 1 playoff appearance and 2 playoff appearances and 1 playoff win ever since the Super Bowl win in 2011.
It was just hard, but even just thinking about the draft pick, remember last year, all they had to do was lose that game to have a better draft pick, and all of a sudden the Giants showed up, and we're all like, this was the only game you really should have lost.
Wow. Now you decided to win. It's hard to get excited. It's hard to get excited off a Giants win when you're supposed to tank for the number 1 pick. Now the Jets have to be the one to tank for the other pick because Justin Fields ain't going to get you wins. He'll get you numbers, but he ain't going to get you wins. And the Jets haven't made the playoffs since 2010.
It's funny because sometimes people take pictures or send me screenshots or take pictures of me if they see me on TV and maybe it's a certain play. And I laugh so hard because there's this one picture of me looking absolutely miserable on the sideline of that game. I'm behind Malik Neighbors. And I was like, oh no, that was the exact moment. I was like, we lost the draft pick, our better draft pick. And I just, that face, I joked, I posted online. I was like, note to self, smile more next year. But even just yesterday too, because a lot of times this season, since there's not as many night games, the past 2 seasons, it was even hard too because there's back-to-back home night games. So I was working Sunday night football and Monday night football. I would joked and I was like, I might as well just have a bed at MetLife Stadium because a lot of people say, but it's different teams. I'm like, but it's the same media, it's the same security, it's the same concession people. It's and with all these games this year, the Giants and Jets have a lot of this 1:00 Sunday games. So as a Giants fan, I'm having to check the score on my phone, or I see if they flash it on. If the Jets are home, I'm there, and I'm being able to see when they're flashing the scores on the screen. Since yesterday was a 4:00 game, I was able to. I immediately left the Jets field. I take the train from Meadowland or from MetLife to Hoboken, but you have to switch to Secaucus, and there's a little train station bar with the TV. So there's a in between time that I have for the other train. So I run up there, try to catch some of the game, and then I immediately sprinted to the first bar off the path, so I was able to see the score, and they were winning. And then all of a sudden, the bar is super rowdy. I'm just locked in on the game, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this isn't going well. And you could have heard a pin drop. Everyone's faces was absolutely stunned. And, a lot of people didn't think that. I thought they were. And I even said when we went into that Eagles game, I was one of the few people, and I said, I didn't know it was going to go as well as it did, but I was like, the Giants are going to give the Eagles a game. And I thought yesterday they had a great chance. That's why I was a little... maybe I was pushing my luck too because they did so much better than I could have even imagined against the Eagles. And I just thought that obviously we said there's a few misses that it should have been their W.
Yeah, they should have been a W, but But like I said before, both these quarterbacks have a good future. Even Jackson Dirk, even though he did choke that game, he has a bright future with the New York Giants. It's just a matter of how he builds from that loss when you had to face the Philadelphia Eagles, only this time in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a big. This is gonna be a big game because even when being close to the division, this could really determine whether or not the Giants will either chase a playoff spot or just simply tank to get a top five lottery pick. And yeah, what quarterback you gonna get after that? Arch Manning for the Texas Longhorns, which would be nice because Arch Manning's the son of Super Bowl champions Eli Manning. It would be nice, but yeah, I'm putting all my faith, at least for the rest of the season. I'm putting all my faith in Jackson Dirk.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think that I think they're going to learn a lesson after yesterday too, and I think they're going to go into Philly. I mean, the Jets are away too, so I'm actually thinking about being able to go as a fan for that game because I don't get to do that, every week. I mean, I'm very lucky I'm on the sidelines, but being able to actually go and watch a Giants game, I think I'm going to do that. But I think that they're going to go in a little bit hungrier too. Even I was watching a clip for like the New Heights podcast, and Jason and Travis Kelce were talking about Dart and Scatterbo, and they're just saying like they just love to play ball. They're like their energy, and just seeing like even Jason Kelce was saying it's like, oh, it might have been like a little bit of a hater at the beginning, but he's like it's so fun to watch them. And even they didn't bring it completely yesterday, but I do think that there's going to be a lot more. I think this is just the beginning of what they're going to be doing on the field.
Yeah, this is definitely the beginning. All right, now we got to transition to another topic, which involves the NBA, and obviously the NBA is going to start the season tomorrow, to be exact. Well, this week actually, we'll tip off with the return of the NBA on NBC. Like, I mean, I don't know. Well, if you were basketball savvy growing up, you would know how iconic the NBA broadcast was when NBC was televising the games in the '90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get that magic back. Only this time you have NBC and Peacock. The Rockets take on the Thunder. The Warriors take on the Lakers. I mean, LeBron's going to sit out because of that injury to begin the season, but that's besides the point. The NBA, the start of the NBA season is going to be something fresh, new, with the new deals of NBA on NBC and Amazon Prime. And then, yeah, obviously, this is going to be crazy to see how it plays out. And they had the little activation, the 30 for 30, 30 round rock activation at Rockefeller Center with those little basketball murals of all 30 NBA teams outside. Yeah, that's amazing.
It's interesting to see. Like, obviously, I've done the more of the credential on the football side than basketball too. But even just looking of how they're expanding like the broadcast too. Because even you think like football, like there was the YouTube game. There's so many different ways. I do think it's sometimes it's hard because if you don't have a channel. I remember I was in Florida recently and I was trying to watch the Bills game and they're like, oh, we don't have Prime. So I'm watching the game. I just didn't think I'd be at a bar watching Thursday Night Football on my phone. But I do think it's a way to expand even different audiences and stuff too. But I'm excited. We were talking before we started this, is that I grew up a New Jersey Nets fan. So we were like back in the Kerry Kittle days too. I think I've transitioned more into a Knicks fan because, I think I'm born and raised a Jersey girl, and I don't think I've ever let go of the fact that the Nets left New Jersey.
Okay, this is a rare time. Since we're on that subject, this is a rare time where I'm going to be asking anybody, and this is coming from a guy who grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and the Nets play there now. How upset were you as somebody that grew up in New Jersey that the Nets were leaving New Jersey to come to Brooklyn?
I was heartbroken. I grew up playing basketball. So I said I played varsity basketball in high school. I also grew up playing AAU basketball too. And I was very lucky. I played on very good teams. So I traveled. My parents were such big supporters when I grew up an athlete too. And I played travel softball and basketball. And my parents flew me all around the country to play in different tournaments and stuff. And even growing up, a lot of my teammates, they would take us to games, and I just love being a New Jersey Nets fan. I also am a New Jersey Devils fan too. And when the Nets left, I was not happy. So even the fact that a lot of people give me, I live in Rangers territory where I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, but I'm a Devils fan. And I think it's one of the teams I get trolled for the most of being a fan of. I said, we have one team left. Like, let me live. Like, I'm a Jersey girl. We have a New Jersey team. I'm going to be a fan of that. And so I think that when the Nets left New Jersey, it wasn't even, I wasn't going to continue to be a Nets fan, but I think that even just a lot more opportunities, I had a lot more Knicks friends. And not that I was a bandwagon fan, But I guess I was a little bit of both. I was a little upset that they left New Jersey, but then also even just like Nick's opportunities, whether it was going to game, and it was just, there's nothing like going to see a game at the Garden. It's just
Nothing
fun.
like it.
And
Trust me.
and during the playoffs this past season, it was really fun to also get involved too, because they did like a lot of watch parties that were completely free to the public. So you didn't even have to, spend a ton of money on a playoff game. You could go watch on a screen outside of Madison Square Garden. I remember I had this one video on my Don't Sit Home TikTok that went like pretty viral, because everyone, as soon as they scored, everyone was just cheering. Like, it was such a cool New York City moment to be surrounded by so many people, fans of the same team, and just having a good time. There's no problems, you just to have such an organized crowd outside, it was so fun. And then I also went to a watch party. They did one in Central Park at Summer Stage. Unfortunately, that watch party, it torrential downpour, so that was, I want to say, kind of rained on our parade, but it was so cool. They had an MC, they had the game on a screen, and it was just such a cool free experience.
Magical moment having the watch party outside the Garden when you can't get in.
But even
that
just
was
sitting,
crazy.
Yeah, and just even sitting. I mean, I was like, I'm so lucky. That's why I love where I live in Hoboken too. I feel like it's the best of both worlds. Like, we have the view of New York City, but I'm in a city, but it's kind of a small town feel. But I can obviously be in New York City and Manhattan, so quickly. But I was like, I'm sitting in Central Park watching the Knicks play a playoff game. Like, that's the coolest. I think it was just no matter who you were a fan of, it would have been fun. But that's when I was like, I think I'm a Knicks fan. I don't, I feel like I've kind of, struggled with that for the past, few years. I mean, they've left New Jersey a while ago now, but I think I actually have to kind of lean towards the Knicks. Even if they were to, not do so well this season, I think I've had more loyalty to them, since obviously the Nets didn't have loyalty to New Jersey.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, exactly. Well, obviously, being that the New York Knicks are title contenders now, they're one of the favorites to win the NBA championship, or at least get to the finals. I mean, that impact happens a lot after they were in the conference finals last year and they got out the first round 2 years in a row. And it all comes down to the acquisition of Jalen Brunson in 2022. The main New York Knicks that everybody slept on, now he's being impactful to not just New York Knicks, but the whole community in New York City. He's doing everything, like literally everything, to carry the Knicks to the promised land that we have not seen in years.
I know you're a Giants fan. Are you a Knicks fan? Or?
Yes, I am.
All
I am
right.
a Knicks fan. Don't worry, you're not alone. Yeah, it's all about the New York Knicks. New York stand up. But nah,
But,
yeah.
I'm just but I'm a sports fan in general too. And I grew up playing basketball in the 90s. The fact that one of my goals was always to go to a Bulls game. So when I was in Chicago a couple years ago, I was there by myself, and I was like, I'm taking myself to a Bulls game, and I had such a great time. I mean, I was nosebleed seats by myself, but even just being there too, just seeing a different arena and seeing a team that I grew up, obviously, even when I was growing up playing basketball, I mean, you didn't even have the WNBA. Like, I was, it obviously, I forget what year it finally became official, but I remember,
1997.
but my
WNBA
parents
came
used
in.
to, like,
Yeah.
I grew up in Hillsborough, New Jersey, and I grew up near Rutgers, so I would go to Rutgers women's basketball games all the time, because that was the only thing I could look up for. My parents, even when I was really young, they always used to take me to the high school basketball teams. They used to take me to the men's or the
amazing.
girls and the boys games, and they always used to take me to Rutgers. But I also, Rutgers is a huge school, so I was also seeing UConn and stuff too. I mean, that was what I was looking up for too. And then I eventually played softball in college. But when I was growing up, I didn't know what sport I would eventually be a little bit better at, or what I was going to. I knew I wanted to play a sport in college, and I grew up athletic, so I think I had 10 varsity letters in high school, and I went to a big group for high school. But I just remember, but even just the fact that with the NBA, there was nothing like the Bulls back then. So it was just a very cool. However many years later, just to be able to. Everyone's like, what are you doing? My mommy was like, what are you doing tonight? I was like, oh, I'm taking myself to a Bulls game in Chicago. She's like, all right, have fun. But it was just, that's what I said. You don't have to be a fan of a certain team. Or obviously even the players back then. It's a whole different team now. but it's just cool just to be, just being at different arenas. I went to Munich. I flew to Munich for the Giants Panthers game last fall, and that was even just a very cool thing too, because there was a lot of fans there. They're really trying to, with all the international games this year too. It was a very cool experience seeing the impact of the NFL on Germany, because I also went to the Yankees Red Sox game back in 2019 in London, and I don't think that I haven't been to an international baseball game since, but I don't think that Major League Baseball did as great of a job as the NFL did with pushing, I remember sitting in this beer hall, and Brandon London and Sean O'Hara, actually Sean O'Hara went to Rutgers, but he also went to my high school, and they were, they hosted one of the
common
events.
Interest.
Yeah, so so I've known Sean for a few years too, but we actually officially met at a Super Bowl, and I introduced myself, and I said, I was actually my first Super Bowl. I was like, I work all the Giants games, but I'm actually from Hillsborough, and even his high school football coach was my history teacher. So, but I've known Sean for a while, but they hosted this event at a beer hall in Munich. And I remember I asked a question to the person next to me, and she spoke German. She didn't speak any English. It was just so cool to see fans. And even walking around Munich, you just saw jerseys from all different teams. Like there was a Colts bar. Like I never thought I'd be walking around Munich, Germany, being like I went to a Chiefs bar after the game. Like it was so cool to see just the impact of a sport, even just in a different city, let alone going to a stadium or like an arena in Chicago. So I really try to inspire people, like even if you have the opportunity, go see your team at a different arena. Just go get a different kind of experience. I think it's so worth it.
It's definitely worth it. I mean, trust me, take it from a guy who actually been to a lot of college basketball games with confetti falling down and seen a lot of celebrations with the college basketball, the WNBA. It's always going to be worth it when you're close to the moments.
Yeah.
Being able to interact with it, being able to capture these moments, being able to do a little bit of multimedia in every single aspect. I mean, it's just amazing. But now the New York, yeah. I mean, what more can I say? This is very informative and lots of interactions that will build towards a suitable career. Which leads us to one question before we gotta wrap up. What is your future looking like with Don't Stay at Home, especially after everything you've done from the from the ISO draft party back in the summer to your feature on Pix 11. What do you hope to build in the future with Don't Stay at Home?
So I wanted to. I mean, honestly, even when I said when I was in New Orleans and actually having. I mean, I've done interviews and stuff too, but I really want to start doing a platform where I'm able to have more in-depth interviews, not just running up to Drew Brees and asking him a quick question.
Yeah, that's
So I want to be able to create a platform too, because it's also I am a one-man show. I do my marketing. I create my content. I edit my content. I'm my salesperson. Being able to have any additional help I want to be able to create more content but not spend more. So I spend so much time even just trying to figure out how to get credentialed for the Super Bowl was so time consuming, let alone the fact that I really want to spend more of my time doing the creative stuff, being able to interview people, maybe do something cool, maybe even an athlete, but doing something that's not related to like the sport that they do. Or, I think that Munich game really inspired me too, because I've obviously traveled to different Super Bowls, and I did a lot of the fan stuff when the Super Bowl was at MetLife Stadium, but I wasn't credentialed then. But being able to experience the cities too, and I think that I kind of also want to showcase whether if I'm like credentialed for another game after the season or not, I want to show more of the experiences maybe around, like even I showcased a lot of the touristy things I did around Munich, showcasing that you can go build something around maybe even a game. Like it's, two of my loves was travel and sports, and I was able to combine them for one of the coolest trips I've ever had. So I think that I kind of want to do more creative processes, build, combining a lot of the stuff, because I cover food, travel, sports, and stuff like that. And I want to try to figure out more creative ways to kind of incorporate them all together, but maybe bring in some like more interviews and personalities into that.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, yeah. I can't wait to see what you build from that. All right, we got to wrap up here. I'm Rafiq Lewis on here on WSJU Radio. Thank you for stopping by, Amanda Morrison. She's definitely not sitting at home this time around, as she's here at St. John's University's WSJU Radio. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me. that okay?
Yeah, it was a very informative interview. It's definitely one of the best I've done since I came here.
Oh,